Hello and welcome to Chabot News for February 8th, 2024. My name is Christian Gonzalez and today we will be covering the Biden administration's issue of sanctions against 4 Israeli nationals, how some flowers are beginning to pollinate themselves, and a police officer who rescued a pair of Labrador Retrievers that fell into a frozen pond. In entertainment news, Diana will tell you about the last piano played by Prince, now on display. And finally, in sports news, Julian gets you ready for Super Bowl 58. All that and more coming up in today's edition of Chabot News. President Joe Biden has issued sanctions against 4 Israeli nationals for alleged acts of violence in the West Bank. The action comes under a new executive order issued on Thursday, February 1st, targeting those responsible for violence in the wake of the Israeli invasion of Gaza. The State Department says ultimately dozens of people and their relatives could be impacted by the directive. While this order isn't expected to fully address the tense situation in Gaza, it does come as some Muslim and Arab Americans are upset that the Biden White House hasn't called for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The war between Israel and Hamas started after the attack on October 7th. Since then, more than 26,000 people have been killed, according to the Hamas-controlled health ministry in the region. The conflict has been going on since October. U.S. officials say militants backed by Iran fired drone strikes on a U.S. outpost in Jordan. It killed 3 army soldiers and injured at least 34 others. Officials say they're working to determine which group precisely is responsible. More from CNN national security reporter Natasha Bertrand.
3 U.S. Army soldiers were killed and more than 30 U.S. service members were injured when a drone struck a U.S. Army base in northeast Jordan on the border with Syria on Sunday morning local time. 8 U.S. service members had to be medically evacuated, and the number of wounded is expected to rise as service members report injuries consistent with traumatic brain injury. Now, the Biden administration has said that they believe that an Iran-backed militia was responsible for this attack on the U.S. service members at this base on Sunday. However, they have not yet identified which militia group they believe carried out the strike. However, they have vowed to retaliate. President Biden said on Sunday that the U.S. shall respond, and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said that the U.S. will respond at a time and place of its choosing and reiterated that it is unacceptable for U.S. service members to have been killed. Now, this is not the first time that Iran-backed militias have targeted U.S. and coalition bases in Iraq and Syria. In fact, since October alone, these Iran-backed proxy groups have launched over 150 drone and rocket attacks at these bases since October, saying that they are retaliating against the U.S. response and support for Israel in the war against Hamas in Gaza. The U.S. has warned Iran privately through diplomatic channels that they need to rein in these proxy groups, but so far, those private warnings have not had a significant effect. Now, the U.S. has responded to these attacks in the past, striking certain areas related and linked to Iran in Iraq and Syria, as well as weapons depots and command and control centers used by these Iran-backed proxy groups. However, it has not yet deterred those attacks. And as we saw on Sunday, those attacks continued and had extremely tragic results. The next of kin notifications for these 3 U.S. Army soldiers is ongoing, and we expect to have more details about those who died and those who were wounded in the days to come. Natasha Bertrand, CNN, Washington.
Thanks, Natasha. This just in. The U.S. military has conducted a drone strike in Baghdad, Iraq, killing a high-ranking commander of the Kataib Hezbollah militia. The response marks the second round of strikes the U.S. has launched in retaliation to the attack in Jordan since late January, when 3 U.S. soldiers lost their lives. After speculation on whether or not the U.S. will address a recent attack on American forces in Jordan, President Joe Biden has announced the answer. He says the U.S. will respond after a drone strike killed 3 American soldiers near the Syria-Jordan border. Officials say dozens of other U.S. service members were injured, including some who required evacuations. This is the first time U.S. troops have died at enemy hands in the region since the war started in Gaza. Officials say Iran-backed militants appear to have launched the attack, and some lawmakers are calling for strikes against that country. Some analysts worry that could result in global conflict. Iran denies any role in the attack on the U.S. base on the Jordan-Syria border. A disturbing story from Colorado, where authorities discovered the remains of a child inside of a container of concrete. Investigators are piecing together the few clues they have and seeing if the child's death is linked to other children who reportedly haven't been seen in years. Lauren Watson reports from Pueblo.
We're doing several things right now as part of this investigation.
According to police, the investigation started January 10th after a person reported locating a metal container filled with concrete in a storage unit in Midtown Pueblo. After further investigation of the container, police say it was unsealed and the remains of a child were found inside.
We need to have the coroner identify those remains, tell us who they are, and maybe possibly the manner of death.
In addition to investigating the death of that child, police say they are also now searching for two other children, Jesus and Yesenia Dominguez. According to police, the children have not been seen since summer 2018, but no missing person report has ever been filed for them. Jesus would now be around 10 years old, Yesenia 9.
Specifically, we're trying to find, kind of where these kids were at, who they were with, when they were last seen, all that information, because we're kind of starting this investigation late.
Thanks, Lauren. Officials say 2 people of interest have been interviewed. Now we turn to Diana Osenlenko for the latest in entertainment news.
Thanks, Christian. Today in entertainment news, we have insights from Emmy winner Niecy Nash and an Oscar nominee Coleman Domingo. Both entertainers are now seeing that their hard work is paying off as they continue to make more strides in their career. Here's a look.
On the day that I was born black, I was also born a homosexual. They either believe in freedom and justice for all, or they do not.
Oscar nominee Coleman Domingo says he did not take his role as a civil rights icon in Rustin lightly.
I prepared like I've never prepared before because I knew the impact that it could have. It's rare when a story like this gets told with an openly gay black man in the center. And I want to make sure I gave it as much humanity and complexity and wit, humor, sexuality as possible.
You go and write your stories. Folks need to know about this.
Origin co-star Niecy Nash Betts praises director Ava DuVernay for bringing the film's theme to the production.
Because we were making a film about this idea of caste and this system of hierarchy, she kind of wanted to do away with that on the set. She took intentional time to go in and speak with our background actors every day to just connect with them and see how they were doing and what's going on and, all of those types of things, because sometimes they can be placed on the bottom, and she was like, no, we will do none of that around here.
Origin expands to wide release today. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Coleman Domingo and Niecy Nash continue to break barriers for this new generation of up-and-coming actors. They've been in the entertainment industry for many years and both are finally getting their big break. The last piano played by Prince and an antique guitar destroyed during filming of a major motion picture are on display at a music event this weekend. Rick DeMiguel has a story in our Hollywood Minute.
This purple Yamaha is the last piano ever played by Prince before he died in 2016. This Martin guitar, built in 1870, was damaged while filming the movie The Hateful Eight. These are things you can only see at the 2024 NAMM show. The National Association of Music Merchants is holding its annual winter convention in the month of January for the first time since 2020.
Getting back after all the disruption, this is a time that our industry will end up stronger. We know there's more music makers today than there ever have been before, and we as an industry will continue to make those music makers.
Musicians take center stage at the event, from performing,
just like being around a bunch of people who care as much as you do, and being surrounded by the tools that allow you to just continue to grow and get better at your craft,
to talking about instruments bearing their seal of approval.
Sometimes you want to go berserk and go from all the way down all the way up and have total freedom of what you hear in your mind, how to express it, how to translate it to a guitar.
Incredibly cool guitars can be seen, made from aged wood or brass.
This series is based on some wood that we've been collecting and curing in the air drying for over 25 years, which makes these guitars sound just fantastic. The Swamp Dog is a Recording King metal body resonator. Metal, but it's actually bell brass, and we finished it with this almost patinaed look, which just makes it look like it just got pulled out of Louisiana swamp and on the porch playing.
To one made from materials from the childhood home of Jimi Hendrix, valued at $44,000.
This piece is an acoustic guitar created from woods and other items from Jimi Hendrix's family home, childhood home. So the whole instrument is made out of either baseboard, flooring, nails, paint chips.
In Anaheim, California, I'm Rick Damigella.
Thanks, Rick. As requested by the lead singer, the piano was painted to match the color of Prince's couch. Automotive paint was used to achieve the exact hue. That's a wrap on this week's entertainment news. I'm Diana Osaulenko. Now back to you, Christian.
Thanks, Diana. In news closer to home, Elon Musk has marked an important milestone for his controversial startup, Neuralink. The billionaire posted on social media that the company has implanted a chip in a human brain for the first time. Musk says the patient is recovering well and the results have been promising so far. The Neuralink device, called telepathy, is meant to help people who have lost the use of their limbs. The device is designed to connect the human brain to a computer, giving patients the ability to control a cursor or keyboard with their minds. The FDA gave clearance for human trials last year. Neuralink has been working on this product for half a decade, but the company faced scrutiny after a monkey died during a trial in 2022. Millions of people are bracing for intense weather as an atmospheric river continues on the west coast. High winds, heavy mountain snowfall, and possible flooding are expected from California to British Columbia. Flood watches have been issued for more than 12 million people across Northern California and Central California. Further south, flood watches are in effect. More than 6 million people across Western California and Oregon are facing wind alerts with winds of up to 75 miles per hour. Parts of the Sierra Nevada mountain range could see up to 3 feet of snow. Meanwhile, 130 daily temperature records, both highs and lows, could be broken across the U.S. this week. There's some good news for flowers that may end up turning bad. A group of French researchers determined many flowering plants are increasingly pollinating themselves. They compared wild pansies growing in 2021 to seeds collected as much as 30 years ago. It turns out, back then, about 50% of the plants pollinated themselves. In 2021, that number had grown to 80%. That's good news since the populations of many important pollinating insects is declining. But there's a flip side. First, self-pollinating plants produce less nectar, which means it could speed up those population declines. Second, self-pollinating offspring aren't as genetically diverse and less able to adapt to changing environmental challenges. Now, it's time for a look at sports with our sportscaster, Julian Saldate Ramirez.
Thanks, Christian. Our marketing group has estimated the brand value of Taylor Swift's relationship with Kansas City Chiefs player Travis Kelsey, and it's a pretty penny. It's worth more than $331 million to the team and the league. Apex Marketing Group's recent estimate spans the first time she was seen cheering him at Arrowhead Stadium in September through January 22nd. Radio, TV, and social media exposures were tracked. Hits include any mention or photo of Taylor tied to the NFL or the Chiefs. Examples include a photo of her at the game wearing a Chiefs jersey, or a mention of the Chiefs with her in a news article. The media exposure has led to increased viewership for certain NFL games, and many Swifties are buying sports jerseys for the first time. The Chiefs are heading to the Super Bowl this month. Could their equivalent brand value reach $1 billion by the time the big game is over? Apex says while it's an aggressive number, it all depends on what happens during the game. And speaking about the Super Bowl, it's coming up. This year's Super Bowl game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers became the most expensive Super Bowl on record. According to TickPick, as of Monday, January 29th, the average price to attend the game is around $9,800. That's 70% more expensive than last year. The current and cheapest ticket price is around $8,100, which is 50% more expensive than last year. In 2023, the cheapest ticket was priced at nearly $6,000, but ticket prices might decline as the game gets closer, with resellers looking to dump their seats for lower prices. This will be the Chiefs' 4th time to the Super Bowl in 5 years. They beat the 49ers in 2020. Super Bowl 58 is February 11th in Las Vegas. That's going to do it for this week in sports news. I'm Julian Salata Ramirez. Now back to you, Christian.
Thanks, Julian. Any time is good to snuggle up with a cup of hot chocolate. However, Wednesday, January 31st was the best time of all. That's because it was National Hot Chocolate Day. But just because the date has passed, don't let that stop you. Make some at home or visit a coffee shop for one. Feel free to top it with whipped cream or marshmallows. You can celebrate by taking a photo and posting it with the hashtag National Hot Chocolate Day. And now, to round things up for today, we now have a heartwarming story featuring an officer and 2 dogs.
Hey, you coming?
The body camera footage you're looking at is the moment the officers saved the dogs from a pond. Police say it happened Sunday morning, January 28th, at a park in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The 2 black Labrador Retrievers couldn't get out of the icy water. The police officer helped them up, then got them away from the water. The labs were taken to a city shelter with the hope they'll be returned to an owner or get adopted. That's all for this Chabot News. Thanks to all the students and staff in the Mass Communications Department here at Chabot College for making this production possible. You can watch us anytime online at youtube.com/Chabot TV. Stay tuned to KCTH Channel 27 on Comcast for more Chabot TV.
Watch Chabot TV on Fire TV, Roku, and Fire TV Plus using the Cablecast ScreenWeave app. Tune in on Comcast channels 27 and 28 or channel 99 on AT&T UVerse for convenient viewing. Your entertainment simplified.